Prophetess Zipporah Crown of the Campus Women's Ministry. We bring you greetings for Christmas and also a message for the new year. We are beginning a brand new year. We are starting all over again. For some people, they think a year is just, well, we counted 360 days, 12 months, 52 weeks, and it's done. What's new? What's the fast? Well, I discovered in the Bible in Genesis chapter 18, when God visited Abraham, God was specific. He said, according to the season of time, I will visit you. So a year is a season of time. It's God's unit of time. God takes a year seriously. He reckons certain events in years. So for us, it's a whole new portal that is opening into another dimension of our work with God. And even physically, a year, another year, we're going into another year. So what is God saying about the year 2020? And for us, that is what we are thinking of. 2020, what is God saying? We must know his mind for 2020. And the year of 2020 is a year of restoration. It's also a year of restitution. God is going to restore certain people who have lagged behind. It's as if, let's look at it in terms of Israel in the wilderness. It's as if there are some who are moving faster than others. So the vanguard, and then the general mass of people moving with the ark. And then the Bible said there were stragglers behind, those who lagged behind. There are people whose callings are lagging behind. And this year is the year God is going to, as it were, wait for them or bring them up front so that they join the ranks. So it's a year of restoration for people who have been wounded along the way, people who have a calling, but for some reason they are not where they're supposed to be. God is going to give extra grace for such people to come into their full calling. That's what the year is about. And for Ghana as a nation, I want this nation to stop and think. God is giving us our last chance to decide whether we are for Christ or we want to go on our own. And mind you, God doesn't let go easily of his covenant people. When covenant people misbehave, when they struggle with God's agenda, God is forced to punish them. God can't play weakling all the time. There's a time he has to flex his muscles and show us as a people that he is in charge, he is boss. So Ghana must sit up. Ghana must clean up her educational system. Ghanaians must not tolerate this comprehensive sexuality education. It's demonic, it's satanic, it's not of God. It is a wicked arrow shot at the nation to sabotage and derail us as a nation spiritually. This is what I know, and this is what I've discerned spiritually. That it's not just accidental, that, oh, it's happening in many nations. No. No. No and no. CSE is an attack from the pit of hell against our nation. For those who do not believe that Ghana is God's covenant nation, today I want you to understand that Ghana is not just any nation. God began long ago, from Noah's time. There were only 3 sons in the ark, and each one of them represents a people group. If you read Genesis chapter 7 through to 10, chapter 10, God shows us the peoples of the world, the nations that God formed, 70 nations. And those 70 nations are in 3 groups. And those 3 groups are all descendants of Noah's 3 sons. If you go to Genesis 9:32, it said, these are the 3 sons of Noah, and from them the people spread throughout over the whole earth. If you go to Acts 17, Acts of the Apostles 17:26, Paul also says something. He said, from one blood or one man, he made all nations of men, that they should dwell on all the surface of the earth. Then God has appointed the times that, what are those times? The times that they take center stage in God's divine agenda. And he has also determined the boundaries of their habitation. The blacks got the landmass that we call Africa today. The Europeans got what we call the Semites, or the Semitic people got the landmass we refer to as Asia, generally speaking. Now for each people, the redemptive agenda of God is in stages. And let me tell you, God's program is racially denominated. I'm not saying God is racist. I said racist. God has a purpose for each and every people group. God has a purpose for each race of people. What was God's purpose for Asia? Asia's role in God's redemptive agenda was to birth the Christ, bring forth God as man, which they have done. And when God is dealing with a people group, like let's say he's dealing with Asia, God does not deal with the people en masse. He always selects or elects a people who will be representative of those people through whom he will carry out his agenda. So for Asia, it was that small, tiny nation, the Jewish nation. Through them, God worked out his purposes for the whole earth until the Christ was born in Bethlehem of Judea, which we are commemorating today. And when Asia finished their work, as soon as Christ was born, baptized, introduced to the nation, and was crucified, Asia had finished her assignment. You realize that what happens when a people finish their assignment, that there's generally spiritual decline. The devil steps in to try to disgrace them, to scatter things. But usually he's always too late because God would have finished doing his work. Christ is here. Europe was given the assignment, which is Noah's son Japheth, to spread the news of the God-man over the earth, which in other words we call missions. So Europe had the agenda of carrying Christianity to all nations of the earth, which they did. God opened their understanding to sailing, navigation, so many things, technologies, radio. They did. You and I here today, Gentile nations know Christ because of that work of Europe. When Paul saw in the night vision, come over to Macedonia and help us. And so European mission work began. Now after 2,000 years is the turn of the third-born Ham, the Hamitic people. And who is the nation that is elect from the tent of Ham, which is the elect nation of the black race, to carry forth, to pioneer God's agenda for the whole earth. And that nation, ladies and gentlemen, is the nation we call Ghana, formerly called the Gold Coast. And so God will not ignore this nation. If Ghanaians want to be like other people, to live how they want, I want to tell them it's too late. The earlier we know that we are God's covenant people for the dissemination of the agenda of Christ. Ghana, you are leading the whole world, particularly Africa, to teach the nations of the world how to impose the dominion of Christ over the earth. Asia brought forth the Christ. Europe announced him. Africa enthrones him. That is the brief agenda of God for the earth. So Ghana, this CSE is not just a change in syllabus. It's a demonic arrow shot at you to derail you from your covenant activity. And God wants me to remind you, Ghana, get back in line. Get back in line with God's divine agenda. The syllabus for what we should teach our children is in the Bible. We have to teach them the history of God's engagement with our people. If we don't have enough in that, we are building it. You can teach them what God has done with his people over time in this book called the Holy Bible. Education must be after God's mind. We don't teach people or our children what we want. Teaching little children to explore their sexuality is nonsense at best. They don't have any sexual feelings yet. And you don't force ripen mango. You don't advise people to pick unripe food of fruit that is not matured off the trees in order to explore its taste. We don't do that with fruit. So why do we want to do that with the fruit of the womb, which is our children? Psalm 127 tells us that children are a heritage from the Lord. The fruit of the womb is his reward. It is his reward to a holy and righteous nation. When a people have followed God's agenda and they are pleasing to God, they've done what God wants for them, God rewards those people by sending them gifted children. And those children are sent to lift up the head of those people. Gifted, genius of children, prodigies that are sent to lift up the head of those people. It is our time, Ghana. And Satan wants you to teach them rogue ideas. It will not wash. We are waiting on God, the watchmen on the wall of this nation, who will not give God rest until this nation follows his agenda. So, Merry Christmas, and I wish you a Happy New Year as well. But remember, that is a season of time when you should be finding out what God wants for your nation, your community, your city, your family, and then yourself. What is God's mind for you for the coming year? If you don't know anything at all, you know one thing. God wants you to be close to his Son, to know him, and to make him known. God bless you.
Searching for magic way,